Yeah,
I'm not
right.
doing that yet.
That's right. Exactly. Man, I was trying to see. Uh, I was looking on the website and I saw that you were, lieutenant and all, and to confirm before I shot you that email, and I saw your granddad. I saw an article
Yeah,
about your granddad. That's man, he sounded impressive.
he
So
was.
yeah,
He was.
I bet 3 generations of y'all. That's something.
Yeah, it is. I don't think many places have that. I was
No.
lucky to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then because it talked about him working for Shenandoah Farms. Well, we used to get Shenandoah Farms milk was what we drank down here, and I hadn't heard that name in years, and so
Yeah.
it was just kind of interesting, but
Yeah, he was our last like home delivery person.
yeah,
Yeah, he
that's
went
great.
around. He had the whole county,
Uh-huh.
20,000 people and delivered milk, and
I bet he knew everybody.
he did. I mean, he knew everybody. Like, would put it in their houses when they weren't there,
Yeah.
and I mean, just and he, getting up and starting at 4 o'clock in the morning and
Right.
stuff. I'm like, I don't know how you did that. That would have
Yeah.
killed me.
Yeah. Yep.
But he did it for. I think he did it for almost 40 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, people like that are yeah, they're pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, now my camera works out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it to work. Now I've got to make sure I look appropriate. But I don't have a college shirt on. I have my job shirt.
Tell me, you all were specking out a new Quint, Spencer?
Yeah, we're I don't know. We're in the middle of it, but we've got some other things that have come up money wise that we might have to look at. It's a 99, so it's 21 years old, and we figured it'd be a 2-year process, so we started it back in January. But to be honest with you, I'm not sold that we need to do that. It's still in great shape. It's we don't run many calls, so it's got 40,000 miles on it for 21 years, and it's going to be a chunk of money when we, of course, do go to getting a new one. I'm not convinced that we need a new one, so, but it is what it is. I'm not the only voice, so I'll just be the loudest. So
That's all it takes.
That's right.
All that it takes.
How you doing, Brenda?
Good, how about you?
Good.
Hanging in there.
Good. Somebody answer at Woodstock, Zach. That's all right. Tell them I said, hey, whoever it was.
My second webinar today.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I saw you
we're
on that one earlier. I didn't get to take that when I was coming back from something. and I got caught in traffic on the way back. I wanted to get in on that one because that sounded really good. And I'd been to the one a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Allie put on, and it was really good.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
She said that there's going to be another one, I guess, next month or something.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I'll try to tune in.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I missed the one last month here. I somehow put it on the wrong day.
it's all good.
Like, got the email the next day and went, wait,
Yeah,
ain't
right.
that next week? Oh, every once in a while.
It's all good. Everything going all right in Warren?
You know, we're getting a new chief. They interviewed yesterday and today. 5
Okay.
candidates, from what I understand. So,
Wow, good.
yeah, it's one in-house that I know about. So,
Okay, good. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It gives people opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. So, hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly meeting, and we appreciate you tuning in. Tonight, we have Zach Hottel. He's from Woodstock, Virginia Fire Department, and he's a lieutenant there, and he's also the RRC there. And so he's going to be talking to you tonight about their apprenticeship program and some other programs that they've had that have really done well for them. So I'm going to turn it over to Zach to let him introduce himself a little bit more and go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you, Spencer. Hope everybody can everybody see me? Yeah, there we go. So like Spencer said, I'm a lieutenant here at the Woodstock Fire Department here in Virginia. And if technology allows us, I'm going to talk about some of our recruitment effort with kind of a mentorship connection. So let's hope this works. So this is what I want. Can everybody see my screen? Maybe.
Yeah, it looks good, Zach.
All right. So again, we entitled this Beyond Mayberry, not just because I've got somebody on our recruitment committee that's obsessed with Mayberry the show, but everybody kind of looks at our community as that stereotypical small town Mayberry USA, and I think that providing some insight on how recruitment and retention can work and change and evolve to meet the needs of that community is something maybe important to talk about. So tonight, I hope we're going to be talking about moving beyond where we were 60 years ago with our model and how we've changed recruitment and retention. So this is one of the best pictures I like of our fire department. This was maybe it was 1961. And if you can't see it, this is all of our apparatus with all of our membership in front of it. And I asked my granddad, who was a member here for a long time, he's in this picture, and I said, why were there like 30 people getting their picture taken with the apparatus? And he said, well, a bunch of us were just bored on a Sunday, so we came in to just take this picture and spend time at the fire station. And I like that because I think that's maybe where, like, the pie in the sky where I always want to be with our membership, is that just one day out of the blue, 30 people would just suddenly be here to hang out and do stuff. So that's kind of like a goal that we probably will never meet, but I always think about. Here at Woodstock, we have a really long tradition of in the fire department. We were founded in 1823. We respond to about 500 or a little bit more calls a year with a community of about 9,000. Our membership hovers around 40 people. We are 100% volunteer, 24/7 within accommodation system. So several other departments in our county Probably approaching on about 75% now have career staff in some form. We're just a single station company, 6 pieces of apparatus. We have a very progressive reputation that we're proud of in terms of firefighting equipment, firefighting tactics, and how we operate as an organization. But we also have a very conservative attitude in terms of just our organizational structure, how we manage things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, especially that conservative attitude in terms of recruitment and retention and how we've kind of dealt with those. So where were we? When I joined the fire department, 15 years ago now, we were coming off of I'm going to say a high. Our membership probably peaked in the early 2000s in terms of the number of operational members that we had. And we started to see a decline. They say in this area we're about 30 years behind Loudoun and 40 years behind Fairfax. So some of those changes in terms of demographics and a decline in volunteerism started to affect us about I would say 2010 or a little bit later. And we started to see some of the conflicts a lot of places deal with, generational in terms of older members versus younger members, arguing over everything that you could possibly think of, and also occupational. We are lucky in the terms that probably half of our membership or a third of our membership consists of people who work in other counties as career firefighters and volunteer here. Really, that's what keeps us going because they're available, during the day, but it also creates kind of a conflict between them and the people who volunteer all the times in terms of, what expectations are, things like that, that I think probably every place that has that deals with. I think we were lucky in the fact that our leadership at least recognized that there was a problem as we started to deal with some of these things. But our response was really, I'll just say, poor. We tried a whole lot of things. We had open houses. We participated in a county, 2 countywide grants for recruitment and retention. We made banners and flyers and had events and went to events, and we tried social media. And mainly we just talked a lot about recruitment and what do we need to do for recruitment. And we were really trying, kind of hindsight, looking back at this, to come up with a magic bullet approach. Like, if we just do this one thing, or if I read this one article and get this one idea, then that will get us the membership that we need. And the results of all this, I'm sure people probably heard this before, is the results were no results. We continue to suffer from membership decline, activity levels, community support, things like that, that really had a negative impact on our organization. So maybe about 5 years ago, I kind of realized that we needed to do something different. And luckily enough, was able to find some other people who felt the same, that we needed to make a change, and was able to convince our leadership, maybe not through direct discussions, but through a slow rolling effort, that things needed to change in terms of recruitment and retention. Or, as I told them one time, we were going to be a department with money and rigs and a building and no people. So we made the decision to change things. And that started with creating a recruitment and retention effort with dedicated and professional people who got training, who knew what they were, I mean, as much as possible, what they were doing in terms of recruitment and retention, and began to work on things. And I am going to touch a lot on mentorship and things, but I think this was definitely one of the really important building blocks as we move forward with our recruitment efforts, was just having some people who take an interest and try to move forward with your recruitment and retention program changes things, because then there's somebody constantly there, constantly working to develop what needs to happen. And part of that effort was we looked at the things that were working, and we looked at what wasn't working and what needed to change. So 3 things that we said were working was our training. Training is an important part of our retention efforts here, because we build people, or attempt to build people up to the level they want to perform at. So we felt that our training was high quality. It was speedy enough that we could get you on the apparatus in about 3 weeks from when you could join. I mean, just as someone who was basically riding along, but we could get you on the apparatus quickly, and we could get you in the class that you needed or that you wanted to take relatively quickly. Our application process, we were really lucky in the fact that we had a good membership chair about 5 years ago who professionalized our application and our application process. And in fact, the county has started using that as the model for their application process here in Shenandoah County. And then our apprenticeship program, which that was developed, I'm going to say 40 years ago now, as a way to connect a new member with a mentor. We just happen to call it an apprenticeship program, and it's designed to give that person, to start with, a year's worth of training, basic training, and a year's worth of coaching from an experienced member or an officer who's able to really bring them forward. And that includes, really importantly, written expectations of what the new person needs to do during the mentorship program. And it's also standardized, but with enough flexibility that each person who's working with a new person can make it their own, depending on their needs and the needs of the new member. And that has really been successful for us, because those 3 things mean that when we get the new members, at least for that very first year, we're off and running with them. And that has really allowed us to retain a lot of people as they come through the process, where I've seen and talked to a lot of departments that struggle with that. So we're lucky in the terms that we had those 3 things that worked. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the mentorship here in a couple minutes. But what we looked at that didn't work, we looked at our community events, and we're really good at public education classes here. And somehow, we're still struggling with this, our community events were only about public education. So we would go to the town baseball game and show the kids the fire truck and talk to them about stop, drop, and roll, and never once mention that we were a volunteer fire department. Our messaging, we did not have very consistent messaging. It was basically whatever someone that day thought of, and it could vary from really anything. And it wasn't consistent enough to even let people know that we were looking for volunteers or that we were a volunteer organization. Our pre-application process, in terms of if you said you wanted to join, you got an application and were like, just drop it off, which wasn't working. And our focus on our membership, we, I talked about that conservative management attitude that we had. People still, our members still a lot looked at it as we wanted members and we wanted people here who were going to be here all the time, who weren't going to have a life outside of the firehouse, and who were willing to give to the firehouse with nothing in return. So things like buying you dinner if you were here all day, things like that didn't exist. And it was a lot of focus on the organization instead of on the members themselves. And then our strategic planning, our strategic thought. Last year, we did update our strategic plan, and at least on paper, as we continue to move through it, are now have dedicated ourselves a little bit more to focusing on membership issues, and things, while not ignoring apparatus replacement or building maintenance, but making those things a written priority instead of just having a strategic plan that talks about what type of fundraisers we have and when we're going to replace windows. All right. So what did that build for us? What did that change build? It really built for us, and this is continually evolving, a mentorship process versus a membership process. And this is what I think is very important about some of the success that we're going to talk about here. This mentorship process, like I mentioned, it begins here as soon as you apply. Or I'll say it begins here as soon as you express interest in applying. We made changes so that as soon as you say via phone call or email or in person or on social media that you want to join, we're reaching out to you and working with you in order to bring you into our organization. Instead of expecting you to take 5 steps or more before you become a member, the only thing really you have to do now without our support is say you want to join. And that continues, that ties into that apprenticeship program and moves throughout the whole year that you're a member, and continues on afterwards. We follow up with people and meet with them throughout their application period. We typically, between the time that you say you want to be a member and actually become a member, we meet with you at least 3 times and will communicate with you a whole lot more, including having you at the station twice, which makes a huge difference in terms of their connection even before they're technically a member. Immediately after you become a member, you're assigned a mentor who will take you through that apprenticeship program. Before, we were waiting to appoint that person until after things like paperwork and stuff was done. But now, our meetings are the first Monday of the month, and the next day, our new members are contacted by their mentor, who helps them with their paperwork, who helps them learn what they need to do and things as they move forward immediately. We still had that 1 year of training and formal mentorship process because that worked really well for us already. But that informal mentorship that builds through that process continues at each level. We are making a really concerted effort now to try to mentor people throughout their membership experience here. And that sometimes means changing mentorship. Obviously, if your mentor is a sergeant and you want to be the fire chief, at some point you need to start working with people at different levels. But it continues with multiple people and multiple levels throughout your time here. Constant membership monitoring, trying to have our leadership work with the membership to learn what their needs are and what they want out of being here. About a year and a half ago now, we did a membership survey. It was the first one that we ever did in order to really establish where our members are and how we can mentor them during their experience here. And we built that into our strategic plan to continue that and to use those results to change our organization. And we really tried to redefine what brotherhood meant in terms of, we've always been really good about, you're on the scene of a call, having that connection, but we've really tried to redefine brotherhood to mean even outside of an incident while you're at the station or outside the department, in your personal lives, to be with others, to talk to them, to have somebody who's going to support you and help you when you need it anytime. And that, of course, is still a work in progress, but it's an attempt to make just a broader definition of brotherhood in order for each of us to have people that we can lean on who are going to mentor us and kind of help us along. This is just a picture of that formal apprenticeship program. The one thing you'll just see here, it's basically, there is a third page with just a signature line, but it is as simple can be. And I think that has been some of our success in terms of the mentorship program, is that, again, we keep it flexible enough that a brand new person with no fire service experience versus someone who maybe moves here who's retired after 30 years of working somewhere, that it can be used for any of them. And basically, it's just a checklist of tasks that need to be completed. I've seen a lot of apprenticeship program paperwork that isn't flexible enough to do that. And we've tried to edit this over the years and not had much success, simply because it has to encompass so many things. So I'll give credit to whoever 40 years ago made this, but it's worked very well for us. So what are some of the results that we've had here of that mentorship process versus a membership process? In the past 3 years, we've recruited 18 new members who are still active. That doesn't include the ones that joined and for some reason didn't stay with us. All 18 of them are still with us. 7 of those 18 had no fire and rescue background at all. They were just people in off the street. 7 of those 18 have or are getting ready to complete Fire Academy, which means they'll become IDLH certified firefighters in the next, once they complete that course. That's our firefighter 1 and 2. We have, out of those 18, 5 new drivers and 1 new officer, and depending on how elections go next month, we may have 2 new officers out of that group. And out of about 40 people that we started with, 18 new people is pretty good. Our retention efforts, because that's really an important part of what we're trying to focus on here. We're averaging about 8 members per response. That's really at the same level we were when I joined 15 years ago, when we started to experience a problem. So I think that's pretty good for an all-volunteer organization to have 8 people on average, anytime during the day or night. We've had a 75% increase in our attendance at training. In terms of the number of people that show up, we have trainings here once a week. We had a 44% increase in the duty hours that people spend here the time that they log doing whatever they are here at the station. And maybe not as easy to measure, but we have really had a boost in morale, especially in terms of the new people, or people who, I guess when I say new people, who haven't been here for 10 years. They really feel like they're more involved and have more engagement and ownership in our organization than they maybe did before. And department pride is up. When we go places, or I talk to people who aren't in the department, they relay stories to me about how our members are sharing, how much they like being here, and how proud they are to be a member of Woodstock. And I think that makes a big difference, because it's a place they really want to come to. Now, challenges, there always are some challenges. So number one challenge with, I think, trying to rework how we look at things to be more mentor driven is buy-in. A lot of members question the importance of that. Those members, I think, have a different connection to the department in terms of they're people who want to be here and want to give, and don't understand why the organization needs to focus on membership and focus on the needs of members. And I love having those people that are here and want to give all the time, but it is a challenge in the terms that they don't understand why another member might need more motivation or another reason to be here apart from they just want to run calls or be at the firehouse. Focus, it's really hard to get people to focus on mentorship all the time. It's really easy, because I think we've been doing it for so long, to fall back into our old ways. And we're still dealing with those generational and occupation gaps, where people where people have difficulty understanding, because of their age or what they do, why we maybe need to take more effort to explain something to someone or work through something. Because, if they're doing it once every 3 days at work versus someone who might do something once every 3 weeks here, it can create a challenge. Expanded mentorship does put some time, commitment and constraints on people, in terms of it requires more work. It requires more thought and more commitment. And you have to have those people that are dedicated to doing that, or it's not going to work. And we continue to have a marketing challenge here as an organization. We need to make dedicated efforts to market the fact that we are a team and a brotherhood and a place where you can come and be built up. And we struggle with that just because very few of us know how to effectively market, or organizations and different aspects of the community to market with. So those are some of the challenges that we're still dealing with. And I just wanted to, I guess, kind of wrap up with this question: did it fix everything? No. Going back to, I was talking about what we were doing before, and that attempt to pull forward a magic bullet that's going to, quote unquote, save our organization. Developing, membership lifetime mentorship process hasn't fixed everything for us, but it has improved things. And I really think that while I can't say that it is a magic bullet fix, because I don't think one exists, it has made things better, and it continues to improve our department, because we are now at a place where, again, for everybody, not just people who have been here a long time, or people who have a real commitment to be here, but it feels like you're part of a family, you're part of the involvement. And all the other stuff seems kind of less when you have that kind of strong connection, because we're really mentoring people and bringing them forward and bringing them into the organization. So as my wife always tells me when we talk about recruitment and retention, this isn't, the answer to all of our recruitment and retention issues, because if I had that, I would, be a billionaire, because everybody would pay me to fix those. But it did fix some of our issues, and I think it's been a big positive for us. And there's my information. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more here, but there's where you can follow me, shoot me an email or whatever, and we can definitely chat about this and more. So, Spencer?
Oh, yeah, that's great, Zach. I appreciate it, and it sounds like it's pretty interesting. Are you getting an echo back?
I am not, no.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it sounds like y'all have a great program. I think we probably do have some questions. I know I have some. If anybody else has some, there's a raise your hand button, or if you just want to turn your mic on. Everybody else is muted. So if you just want to turn your mic on and ask away, just let me know. If you raise your hand, I'll call on you though. In the meantime, Zach, could you go back to the slide that showed? There was a slide with a bunch of people, and they were holding up something that looked like from the back of the ladder. That one.
Yes.
What is that a picture of?
So what we did, we sold this from Loudoun County. Back at the beginning of COVID, they started this where they were highlighting people with a sign about like, I volunteered for today.
Right.
So we did this during National Volunteer Week, where we had each of our members holding the sign with the ladder truck and then explained why they volunteered, and we highlighted them on social media.
Okay.
And this is obviously, some of our members didn't want to participate.
Yeah.
But we had about 19 of them who did, and it was really successful in the terms of people got to see who our members are.
Right.
They got to see, and our members got to some recognition. And basically all that sign says is, I volunteered for you today.
Yeah.
And our website.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Excellent. I know Brenda has a question. Brenda, go ahead.
So we're getting new volunteers in that have different learning styles, and we've got like 3 this year that are on the autism spectrum, and we know from experience that they can learn. They just learn and behave differently. I'm wondering what other people are doing to sort of bring those people into the department and finding the right mentor. And like, have any of you encountered that? Because we need to be welcoming and use these people, but it's sometimes when you get them to the station, there's not a lot happening that pulls them in.
Yeah, and Brenda, I think that's a challenge because not every mentor is suited to mentor everyone. I mean, you can have someone that has the time and the desire to maybe mentor everyone, but that doesn't mean they should be a mentor. So I think for us, it's been finding a group of mentors who we can then plug in different applicants when they join. And a lot of that is just kind of a one-on-one with the experience of who your people are, of saying, I've got this person who just joined, and this mentor, they would be a good fit with each other. And I'm not going to pick on some of our departments in the county, but having served on our county recruitment committee, I see that is a challenge a lot at some other places, is there's just not that depth to do that. So that's kind of how we dealt with it, but I see where that is a big problem at some other places.
Bill, you had a question? Go ahead.
I did, yes. Thanks, Spencer. So a couple questions. First off, how many overall members do you have again? And how many act as mentors?
So we have, right now it's about 45 total members with about, I'll say, I think it's 38 or 39 that are active. And let's see, I have to count. I think we have 6 that are regular mentors. And there's probably 3 or 4 that step up, depending on who joins, like if you already know that person or something like that. But we have 6 that we regularly rotate through. And a lot of times we even do it as a team approach in the terms of that training to meet different needs. But we have about 6 people.
Okay. All right, good. And there's qualifications separate for them?
We don't have any written qualification for them, but we do pair people with mentors depending on their training levels. So if we get someone who's brand new, no fire service experience, we might pair them with someone who isn't what we consider to be interior certified, because they're not at the point where they need to learn that. But if someone comes who's, has their necessary training, we'll pair them with someone who has more experience and more training that can help them, on that level that they're at.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Zach, when Bill was asking about the numbers, it kind of prompted me some. So how many people generally does a mentor, how many people do they mentor at one time?
So that's a good question.
Well, thank you.
I think that we have, in some cases, it can be, 4 or 5 that they have at different points in the mentorship process. Because,
Okay.
like I said, we have that year-long formal process.
Uh-huh.
So you may have somebody that you're a mentor for who's been in 11 months and may be getting ready to go out of the formal process.
Uh-huh.
And you pick up, and then you've got 4 or 5 people who are different stages. So I don't think we ever give more than 2 people who are just starting to a mentor.
Uh-huh.
But you may have more who are at different stages
Okay.
of the process.
Okay. And so what does that look like in what does that mean when I'm mentoring them? Do I need to come down there every time they're on duty or on shift, or when they want to come down and go over things, or does it depend on the person and where they are in, learning the job, whether it's just I'm somebody that reaches out every once in a while and says, hey, how's things going? What is the normal there?
So it starts out as really every time that new person is here, that mentor needs to be here, because what is happening is they're conducting their initial pre-clearance training, their paperwork, and that probably goes on for, depending on schedules, 3 weeks to a month or a little bit more. And then the amount of time that they spend together doesn't decrease, but the amount of time the member then spends without their mentor increases. So, mentors follow up constantly during the year. They should be active enough that they're here when the new person's here at a lot. But as the new person starts to, be in for a little bit, they gain more, I'll say, independence from their mentor, and the fact that they're here without them more often.
Okay. All right. Laura, you had a question there. Go ahead. Hey, Lori, you still there? We can't hear you, Lori. I'll go ahead and ask another question, and then we'll come back to Lori. So what's the biggest challenge you have with this program? What's the biggest headache?
So I think probably our biggest headache is is being able to the time commitment and the dedication to on the part of the mentor.
Okay.
It really can be a challenge to get the right person in terms of experience, training, and ability, who also has the time to serve as a mentor. Um, and and some of that goes into, well, their motivation to be a mentor, things like that. But finding enough mentors to do it right, I think has been our big challenge, because, you know, as we get people in, you know, it has to begin right away and continue on. And sometimes there just isn't a person there to step up to do that.
I got you. Lori, are we able to bring you back on? Let's see. I think she messaged us. Do you find that mentors become burned out, and do you have to have a high turnover of mentors? That's a good question.
That has not happened yet, but I think that's probably quite possible that would happen. As you know, as RRC, I usually end up doing a lot of the mentor. So that person who has 5, that's me. And I think that sometimes that does come up where I feel a little bit burnt out, but I'm lucky in the fact that we do have a team that help with that can take some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in terms of, again, sometimes we even do the team mentorship where we bring in other mentors to help with different things in the process, and that makes a big difference, because it's still sharing the load, even just with one person.
Right. I got you. Any other questions? Anybody have anything they want to ask Zach about their program? Well, Zach, I appreciate it. Oh, well, that's just Matt. I guess we'll let him talk. He's got this West Coast equals best coast thing up on his little message there. So, Matt, we'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll be quick. Hey, Zach. First of all, thanks for the presentation. One of the questions I've seen a couple of organizations, including ours, is struggling with is mentorship during COVID. And the reason why it's been a struggle is not a lot of folks are able to get to the department like they want to. You know, the houses, a lot of them are closed, and a lot of the stresses are actually happening outside of the firehouse. When folks are identified as mentors in your organization, do they receive any sort of training that helps identify how to be a mentor and how to help overcome some of the stresses and being active when the traditional mentorship at the station is harder to do, in a normal format?
So we haven't really had any formalized mentorship training here, but we do assign people to be mentors only if they have, I'm not going to necessarily say training in terms of fire service training, but some type of training to be an ability to be a mentor. Because I think we found that we have people here with experiences or training from outside the fire service that helps with that through their job or whatever. And then we have people that have fire service training that has given them the ability to be mentors. So it's something I think we've talked about here, is having formalized training. But right now it's basically been, we've identified the people who have that ability, and those are the people that we're assigning. Now, that may not be the best process, but that's kind of where we're at right now.
No, that makes sense. Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
Any other questions? Well, Zach, thanks so much. I think, I know that there's probably a lot of people would agree that have these programs. It's a key to really successful departments. You look at it, the ones you see that are across the country that are really successful with recruitment and retention, and mentor programs are, almost always in place at those organizations. So that's pretty interesting. I like a couple of things that, well, first off, I love the picture, your recruiting poster. It said ordinary people doing extraordinary work. And I thought that was really great. That's a great message. And that was some good stuff. And I especially like the idea of mentorship versus membership. And I've never heard anybody talk about being assigned a mentor through the application process before you actually come into the department. So that's some, I think you guys are on that progressive trend. So keep it up.
We're
And
trying.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It sounds like y'all are doing well. I'll, and of course we're recording this. I'll send this out on our YouTube, a link to our YouTube, but I'll also include, we've got an actual mentor trainingship, and I say we, the IFC, in conjunction with the Tennessee Fire Chiefs, and I'll send the link out for that. It's a 2-part online. The first part is how do you have your organization documents, organizational structure set up for mentoring, and then the second part is an actual training for those who want to be mentors. So I'll send that out in the email that I usually send. But so thank you, Zach. Is there anybody out there that wants to share any successes or challenges that they're going through right now?
Hey, Spence, it's Todd. How are you?
Todd, how are you, bud?
I'm good. Thank you, brother. Thank
Good,
you.
good.
Zach, thank you. Great presentation. I just wanted to share real quick, Brenda, in regards to your question with the special needs folks, we've had a few come through our department, and what we always encouraged was that their guardian stayed with them until that person was comfortable coming around the firehouse. It helped a lot. It gave them somebody who, of course, was familiar and such, and it also gave us someone to work with and through to make that person successful. The bad part is we haven't been successful with it. I think the longest time that we ever had a special needs person was maybe a year. So it's just hopefully food for thought. Hopefully we can change that, but we continue to try.
I was almost wondering, because the Department of Rehabilitative Services has sent these people to volunteer with us to help them. I almost wonder if we couldn't have like a small regional approach to something that helps connect them to the fire service and gives them some basic things to go into the firehouse with ahead of time so they can feel more at home and more comfortable. But I'm really just in the beginning of trying to figure out what we do with it. I think I've gotten 3 in the last 6 months. And COVID, of course, shut down a lot of the houses. So it's one of these things that's been percolating, but I haven't really dealt with because the houses aren't open to some volunteers at this point. So it's going to happen. And we have one full-time autistic firefighter who just got promoted. So, the possibilities are there, but it's just things move so quickly and we're so scantily staffed that people don't feel like they have the time to really connect and bring those people in. So, and we certainly don't want to discriminate against anyone, and we want to welcome anybody that has some skills. It's just, I guess I'm being really sensitive about making sure their experience is positive.
No, well, and we certainly should try to do that. Absolutely. Brenda, would you mind sharing maybe once things get a little further down the road? Because I know you, and you'll figure out a way to make it work. So, yeah, share with the RRC email group.
Yeah,
what you come up with. Once they get their feet under. I think that's an interesting, a concept, and I don't know that other people have even thought about it. I've never heard anybody talking about it.
Well, I got to track down
specific to autism. Yeah.
Who this rehabilitation counselor is that keeps sending them our way, because I'd like to connect and see what their vision of what we do is,
right,
and what they're selling to make sure that the person gets what they think they're going to get. as best as we can provide it. And then, you know, it just seems like to me, maybe there's a greater need than I realized for
Mhm.
connecting. So
Sure.
yeah, we're just in the beginning of it. Maybe COVID will
right.
go away and we can press forward.
That would be great. Yeah, let's hope so. So somebody's got their hands up. I'm checking now, but Joyce, go ahead.
Hey, Brenda, in relation to your question, it's interesting you brought that up. I have been working in Maryland, specifically in my county, with a group of special need disabled people that are going to a local state-funded daycare, basically. And basically what's happening and DDA is basic, and I don't want to say forcing, but that's kind of what's coming. They're decreasing the funding for the day programs and making them take more initiative into pushing them out into the community and mainstreaming. So with that being said, and I can speak personally to this because I have a special needs brother, to look at him, to talk to him. He understands what I'm saying. He can't write and he can't. I have been challenging them as we're going through this process that it's fine for those who can talk and communicate and are able to function or have a higher level of function, because they're starting to put a lot of them into outside housing with supplemental help through SSI, etc. So I think you're going to see that more and more across the nation simply because DDA, the government, is forcing it.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah,
It is very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of sad, if I can say it, because they're basically turning these, and most of them are adults in this particular one that we're dealing
hmm
with. They're kind of putting their life upside down because they're taking them out. Well, first, COVID, I think, is, if I can see any positive out of COVID, it's kind of transitioned them because they're not at the center.
hmm
But it's pushed them more back into their homes to do things. And some of them are very active. Others could care less, but they're starting the virtual learning even with them. And again, it's okay for those who high function, but there's a lot of them that don't utilize speech or have that they struggle with. So
Yeah.
I've been pretty hands-on with this probably for the last 3 or 4 months, and we meet at least every other week. And I'm working on some pretty high level strategic planning for some of this that's coming into place. And that's only the reason why I'm involved with it, is because it's impacting me personally, but I want to see everyone succeed. But I can tell you out of that, that's what I do. Go visit the firehouse. Well, that's fine. You can go visit a firehouse. And this is what I keep saying. We all want them to come visit us. We all don't want them to be afraid of when they have to utilize our services. But what is the expectation?
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
And
And
nobody's been able to give me that answer.
right.
I would note that all of mine are like 14 to 16. So that even makes it more interesting.
Yeah, I haven't hit that age yet. Mine's mainly 28s and above. Now some of them have the mentality, or I don't want to say that in a negative way, but the mental capacity, I should say, of that age range.
Well, that's pretty interesting. I hope y'all will share with the email group what you find out as y'all move further through this process, because I think there are people that are working through those as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. Any other successes or challenges anybody's going through right now?
I will also say I've had I was able to pick back up my new orientation training classes with the last 4 months. And in math, I actually only had 10 students, and 3 of them were actually disabled, 2 cognitively and 1 physically. And it was very interesting how, and they were in their, one was in their late teens, one was actually 16, the physical handicapped one. And then the other one he's more in his 30s, but it's very interesting to see how they were very standalone, but yet 2 of them were males and 1 of them was a female. And I found that the female actually tried 3 times harder than the male did to get through, but yet she's the one who had the disability, the physical disabilities. She actually, it was very interesting because she had, club fingers, web hands, club feet, and she actually had the cleft palate. I'm telling you, the girl was with it. She could do CPR better than some of the other ones. And she's just 16 years old, and she's just coming off of her 4th surgery with just the 1 hand. Wow. But she has some of the fingers, or most of her fingers were not developed correctly. But I'm telling you, she was kicking their butt.
That's great. That's great.
And she's ready to start EMT. She's rolling.
Well, let them keep.
It was an experience. It's definitely something that I told her I wanted to get. Well, and it was funny because we did PEEF, okay, the protective envelope and the SCBAs. And one of the instructors came over to me and they're like, Joyce, I don't know. I'm afraid she's going to hurt herself. Well, she also doesn't have a left clavicle. So, when you're swinging those SCBAs, how much you're talking 70 plus pounds extra weight to start with. She was not afraid to do it, but she was afraid of failing because I was afraid she was going to hurt herself because she was wearing herself out. So it was just, it's very different how each one of them functions, but they do try harder, I think, in the most part, and they truly do want to succeed. They don't want favoritism, but they want to succeed.
Well, that's great. I'm glad y'all are finding a place for you, especially after seeing this week the guy with Down syndrome that's able to compete in the Ironman competition. That I'm sitting on my recliner and I'm thinking, golly day, just makes me feel like I didn't do anything today, which I hadn't. But so, but yeah,
but they do give you a different perspective. They truly do give you a different perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, well, I know. I'd sent out an email, and I appreciate there's a bunch of y'all that responded back with what the states are doing for their pensions or retirement, and I appreciate that, and some other things that are out there. We're not going to have a meeting in December. We try to do the 3rd Thursday, and it's too close to Christmas, so we will come back in January. And in January, Jen Motherway from Columbia River Fire Rescue out in Oregon. She's going to speak to us. I'm still working with Jen on what the topic is, but I know it'll be good. She's spoken at some national conferences and stuff like that, and I know it will be good. So I'll of course pass all that along to you. That's going to be the 21st of January, and I'll pass that along. We'll probably also try to take a look. We started back in April. We'll try to take a look at what this little get together that we're having, and how we can improve it, and see where to go in 2021. And so I might even send y'all a survey out. I know it's hard to believe, actually send a survey, but we'll probably send a survey out to see what y'all's thoughts are, see what we can improve on. As always, we're looking for people to join the network. So if you know somebody, anybody that's in recruitment or retention that you want to join, send them my email or send me their email and I'll add them. And then also, we're always looking for people to present on this monthly meeting. So I've got people through March, but I'll stack them up. We'll have somebody on the schedule as long as there's somebody that wants to speak. So I hope you guys enjoy your Thanksgiving and your Christmas and your holidays. And I look forward to seeing all of y'all in January. As always, reach out to the group if there's something that you need help with, because we've got a lot of smart people in this group. So thank y'all very much. And I hope y'all are doing well and enjoy all the holidays and Christmas and Thanksgiving. So Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks, Zach.
Spencer. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Spencer. Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Y'all have a
Thank
good
you
one.
all. Take care.